what are some of the best practices and recommendations on deploying Microsoft 365. Even though we have simplified the configuration of how you could break out Microsoft 365 traffic through simple one click, there are certain deployment recommendations around. We often recommend from locations to have a GRE or IPsec tunnel based forwarding to us and enable authentication, SSL, and firewall. Even if you enable SSL on a given location, it doesn't get applied for Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 is an exception, even though you enable SSL on that setting. That setting of enabling SSL will enable you to make sure your other internet traffic gets decrypted based on your policies. Same for firewall. And obviously, you have to enable Microsoft recommended one click. One recommendation is from a policy perspective, always have HTTP, HTTPS network service rule allow above the default Microsoft recommended one click rule, just to make sure some of the web traffic is not dropped. So these are some of the simple best practices with Microsoft recommended one click. And this policy space I am referring here is from a firewall filtering rule. Now, let's talk about one of the most important things post pandemic is about how do I enable remote work from anywhere users. So from a work from anywhere users, particularly the usage of Microsoft Teams has gone significantly higher because most of the collaboration and business happen leveraging Teams as the primary method of communication. So when it comes to work from anywhere users, for an optimal user experience, we have introduced a new capability or feature 2 years ago called application bypass. So when you are deploying Zscaler client connector for your end users to connect to the destinations through Zscaler, we recommend to have zTunnel 2.0 deployment in client connector for all WFA users, and always turn on the application bypass selection with Microsoft Teams selected. The moment you add Microsoft Teams under application bypass option, it automatically identifies all the traffic belonging to Microsoft Teams and bypasses, including TCP. We do have an option to configure and choose if you want to selectively still have TCP go through Zscaler, but we strongly recommend to bypass all of TCP and UDP when it comes to M365, especially Teams, M365 Teams application when they're working from home. And we also support split tunneling capability so that for rest of the applications, you could still have a choice to go to Zscaler or go direct. And let's talk about some of the recommended connectivity principles to Zscaler. From a location standpoint, whether it could be a branch office, headquarters, regional office, or data center, whatever is the corporate site it is, our recommendation to forward the traffic when it comes to Microsoft 365 is using GRE and IPsec as the preferred method of tunneling, and enable Microsoft recommended one-click configuration setting if you do not want to inspect the traffic, and send all ports and protocols. Do not do any bypassing or split tunneling from locations. It becomes very complicated, especially when you have some traffic coming to Zscaler and some doesn't. It would end up in inconsistent and inefficient paths to reach the Microsoft front doors, and you might experience user experience and performance issues with the end users. When it comes to remote work from anywhere user, always install Zscaler client connector with Tunnel 2.0 for your end users and just bypass the Microsoft Teams application from the endpoints. We have implemented this capability, as I talked earlier in the previous screen, leverage that capability to bypass. We often get these questions from many customers about, I am a customer or enterprise belonging to a vertical where there are a lot of regulatory compliance driven and other reasons where we have to inspect the content, no matter whether it is a Microsoft 365 application or any internet application. As long as it is going to internet, it needs to be inspected. So from that standpoint, we kind of make our deployment options recommendations into two persona based or two requirements from two different perspectives. One is persona from a security perspective, could be CISO, VP of security, anybody who have to adhere to those compliance and regulatory requirements, where oftentimes the requirements are leveraging a consistent security posture, irrespective of whether it is a google.com or Microsoft 365, they want to use the same security posture. For instance, they need to apply the same threat protection policies what are configured for regular internet, for Outlook Online, OneDrive, SharePoint, and so on. And also customers in this focused personas do have a strong need for tenancy restrictions on what's going on in personal accounts versus corporate accounts. How do I give access to third-party granular access to third-party tenants versus local corporate tenants, and so on. And there are also certain data protection requirements around how I wanted to control the access of sharing and collaborating with third parties in terms of what is going on in Teams, what is going on in Outlook, what is being uploaded to OneDrive, who it is being shared. So there are a whole lot of data protection requirements oftentimes which are handled and headed by CISO teams. There are requirements around that. In that case, our recommendation is we do have a different flavor of Microsoft one-click configuration. So that is called a simple Office 365 one-click configuration, which enables you to inspect the Microsoft traffic as a cloud application. The only thing that one-click does is there are about 30 to 50 different URLs. There are different reasons they will break if you try to open, even if you want to inspect. For example, some of these are cert pinned. Some of these do not support inspection at all. So we have identified those very critical and short list of URLs which absolutely need to be bypassed. And those are added as part of Office 365 one-click configuration. It doesn't have all the M365 endpoint URLs advertised by Microsoft. It's a small subset, 30 to 50 URLs, which gets bypassed. And rest of the applications are made available for you as a cloud applications. Under cloud application policy, you can choose OneDrive. You can put granular policies like stop upload to this particular tenant, or you could say for this Outlook user, don't allow him to download the files, apply the detection of phishing in those emails, and so on and so forth. Similarly, you could leverage CASB and other applications as well. When it comes to Teams, again, from work from anywhere user, even in this case, whether you want to inspect the traffic, our recommendation is for a better user experience to bypass UDP at least, if not TCP, so that you can still monitor the TCP channel for any document sharing via Teams and so on, but still UDP needs to be bypassed and everything else could be sent through Zscaler. When it comes to the personas related to network infrastructure, like head of networking, CIO, VP of infrastructure, whoever is responsible for the connectivity and user experience, all the typical requirements are secure local internet breakout, global visibility, accessing the application, optimized path, bandwidth control. If those are the requirements, stick to the standard Microsoft recommended one-click configuration, which does absolutely no inspection of any Microsoft traffic. And the Teams deployment goes back to what I just talked about, completely bypassing UDP and TCP from work from anywhere user. And for locations, continue to send all of that to Zscaler. So these are some of the key capabilities we offer when it comes to deployment, whether your enterprise needs inspection or bypass. We at Zscaler, our goal is to provide a best-in-class, world's best secure cloud platform. That means we as a platform are capable of inspecting every traffic. There is no exception to that. Of course, if the traffic is cert pinned or have some exceptions, it would break. We won't inspect that. But pretty much any traffic which is going out to internet, we have the ability to inspect. But your requirements drive whether you want to inspect Microsoft 365 or not. We want to offer a flexibility to our customers depending on their business objectives and needs. So from that standpoint, if your business needs inspection for regulatory compliance or any other reasons, we do have capability. You could add an SSL inspection policy for just login services alone. And that way you could leverage tenancy restrictions. Or if you want to specifically allow certain type of categories of traffic within Microsoft 365, you could do that. Microsoft grouped or categorized their endpoint URLs into 3 groups: allow, default, and optimize based on the connectivity principles. Some customers do not want to bypass or not SSL inspect certain categories. So we have the ability to choose what you want to inspect and what you don't want to inspect. And similarly, you could choose our cloud application policies and do more granular controls like how you would do for any other cloud application, be it OneDrive, SharePoint, Outlook, or any other applications as part of M365.